Okay, it's 6 p.m. and we are live. Yes, sir.
Live.
We're live.
All right, let's call to order. Historic Resources Preservation Board meeting, Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Elaine DeRisso.
Here.
Laura Devlin.
Here.
Bob Dorenzo.
Here.
Nadine Heights. Ed DeVoe.
Here.
Ed LeBlanc. You have a quorum.
Okay, any additions, deletions, reordering, approval of the agenda? You're okay. Okay. We get approval of last month's minutes, please.
Can we hold off on that?
Okay. Oh, we can't do last. It would have to be.
July.
We're gonna skip that. Okay, swearing in of staff and applicants, please. I forgot. This one.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes. We have an applicant online. And video.
And turn on video. Hey, Yali, can you hear me? You gotta unmute and turn your video on for swearing. Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes. Thank you. We can't.
Yeah, we can.
All right, can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have proof of publication on all of those. Any withdrawals or postponements?
No.
Okay. Any board disclosures? Good.
Good.
All righty. Any unfinished business? No? Okay, on to new business. Should we start with the first case or should we move into the second?
We can start with the first.
We can start with the first case. Okay, please.
All right, Yanta Rafa. HRPB project number 25-0050003 is a conditional use permit request to establish a restaurant with a bar and a bar with live entertainment at 921 Lake Avenue. It's located in the downtown zoning district and is a contributing resource in the Old Town Historic District. This is the map showing the location of the structure. This is the survey. As you can see from the survey, it's a non-conforming lot. It doesn't meet front yard landscape requirement. It doesn't meet structural coverage, lot coverage, and setbacks. This is the image showing the structure. It was built in 1930 in the masonry vernacular architectural style. It has undergone minor alterations, including windows and roof replacement, as well as additional storefront awning installation and a second floor interior expansion. Throughout the years, it served different purposes, such as a restaurant, a cafe, and a store. The reason this is coming in front of you is because some uses need approval and a conditional approval from an approval body. And in this case, we're looking at two uses. The first one is a restaurant with a bar, and the second one is a bar with live entertainment. As highlighted in the staff report, the proposed uses are consistent with all three requirements, which are the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, and the land development regulations. Therefore, staff recommends approval. These are the potential motions, and these are the conditions of approval. And if approved, these needs to be amended to include utilities and water and sewage conditions. That concludes my presentation. Thank you. And we also have the applicants here if you do have any questions for them.
Would you like to hear from the applicants?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the applicant sent us a PDF. We're trying to open it and see if we can have it.
How we doing, sir? State your name and address, please.
My name is Horace Henry. My wife, Elizabeth Henry. Address is 921 Lake Ave, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. We had a really nice presentation for you on screen, but oh, it's up actually. Oh, oh,
Well, let's see it.
yes,
You want to
awesome.
see if we can do this?
Make sure you really talk into that mic, please.
I think it's
Can you hear me better?
So a little better.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so Off the Clock merges the world of craft cocktail, music, and fashion at the crossroads of the arts. We're dedicated in creating elevated experiences that cater a refined audience who appreciates the intersection of culture, creativity, and luxury.
And then our flagship restaurant is a listening bar and petite plats. So small dishes with a culinary experience rooted in French technique and enriched with Caribbean influence. So a space where sound, flavor, and storytelling converge, offering intentionally crafted dishes and beverage with a home felt intimate experience.
As you guys can see, this is the forefront of the building itself. You're familiar with the building. 2 floors. The first floor is more of the craft cocktails and small bites, petite plats. The second floor will be utilized more of fine dining experience. That's where you can have bigger plates on the second floor. The live entertainment that we were referring to is a part of the experience. This is the render of the bar itself, which is actually completed right now. It actually look exactly like this. The listening bar experience is basically giving you a specific sound that also cater to the experience that you're going to be experiencing there. My wife and I, we're the full owners and operators. We live here in Lake Worth for over 5 years. Before this, I was in Boynton Beach.
Okay.
So I have 2 little ones here that goes to school here. I've been in hospitality for 15 years. Started at the Breakers Hotel. From the Breakers, I went to Waldorf Astoria, it's not Waldorf anymore, it's just the Boca Raton now. Oversaw their beverage program. And I was the lead bartender there, worked very closely with MFG Major Food Group, which I helped develop their beverage programs. Alongside, went to Broken Sound Country Club, and I did their beverage program there as well. Went to New York to study more within the beverage side of things, where I dived deeper, built more relationships. 2 years ago, I resigned, and we opened up a company, Off the Clock, where we've been consulting for different restaurant, bars, and hotels throughout South Florida. Our most recent project was Pier 66 that's just recently opened back up at Caluso and Soto Grande restaurants. And this is our staff that we're carrying on board right now. Reginald Burgess will be our executive chef. He's currently at Carbone's right now in Miami, and he will be joining us hopefully in October if we get everything pushed through by then. Lawrence, he is currently at Any Day, one of the places that we consulted for. And he's the lead bartender there right now, and he will be joining us when we start as well. My wife and I will be doing the operating side of things. Our socials, we're very big on social media. We have a very nice social media presence. If you actually end up following us, this is exactly what our social media is like. We've curated different events throughout South Florida and also here in Lake Worth before. And this is exactly what our social media is. All our photos, these are actually our cocktails as well. All of our style and our designs. Our menu, we wanted to give you a little example of what our menus are going to be looking like. The style, the intentionality with everything. I'm not sure if you've ever seen a menu design like this from the cocktail side of things, but we like to put a lot of creativity within business, and this is an example of what our cocktail menus will be looking like. And this is a rough draft of our food menu as well. This is not the actual menu yet. It's just an example. Once again, we built our company off of cocktail, music, and fashion. I believe that is the foundation of creating a really great company. And when I consulted, that's why I followed those models on. So I love a really great cocktail. Then I'll really love a great ambiance with music. And I believe if you carry yourself well, you know, you'll feel well and you attract the same people coming to your establishment. So all of these photos are photos from all of our events that we've been doing for the last 2 years here in Palm Beach. Everything that you see here is from all of our editions within cocktail, music, and fashion. We've been at the Ben Hotel, Ravish, um, Alu. Uh, it was a art gallery here before. It's called Cucini at the time. We went there. We did a takeover there as well. And right now, we are bringing in, attracting a lot of people from Miami, especially a lot of young creatives that's been driving from Miami to come here. One of the biggest things I used to pay attention to was that we're leaving our city to go to other cities when we have so much great things here. Why I chose Lake Worth. Lake Worth has been doing so many great things, especially within the art community. And I believe that we can add more value to that as well. And all of these photos is from all of our events that we've done for the last 2 years. This is an example, a mock-up render of what we are hoping to have our sign. It won't look exactly like this, a little better, but an example of what we're looking to have our sign. That will be right off of Lake Ave and 8th Street, right on the pole of the building. Yes, so it will be an example of what the sign would look like. Once again, this is one of our cocktails that we've done, and we want to thank you for your time and hope you enjoy this presentation.
Thank you. Any questions, guys?
I noticed. Don't have anything for senior citizens.
Senior citizens.
I worked that broken sound, so I understand.
Hey, for the happy hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? I'd like to make a motion.
I have actual questions, sorry. Hi, how are you? I'm very excited about your project. I would like to know what your particular interest is in this building. Why would you choose this building to have your restaurant and lounge and bar?
It's a really great question. A year and a half ago, I would say we were looking at this building. We used to drop our daughter off to school, and every time we passed this building, we're like, "This building is so cool, man."
Mm-hmm.
It has that old school New Orleans feel to it. The characteristic of that building alone just has so much to it. I believe it just stands out. Now, it's also on 8th Street. 8th Street starts with my name, Horace. And it's funny too. I believe like numbers divine. The number is 921, which is my phone number. And I believe that it was like literally for me, destined for me. Been working very hard on it, my wife and I. Sometimes I'm leaving like 3 o'clock in the morning because we love the property. It's been around the 1930s and it's been through a lot of changes, and we're hoping that we can make it a flagship and a staple here in the community as well.
Excellent, thank you. Does that building waive from any kind of ADA requirements in terms of access to the second floor?
Yes, ma'am. We actually do have a lift to go to the second floor. We actually just got that up and operating and certified.
Friend of mine has spinal cord injury in the past year and a half, so I have an increased interest in that.
Definitely. That's important.
Yeah, for sure. Can you address the issue of potential noise? I know it says in your application that noise will be managed, but I just want to know some more about what your thoughts are about that, as opposed to like sort of like more downtown where there's lots of noise downtown, but in that section, not so much. So what are your plans for the music, entertainment, things of that nature, and how do you want to modulate that?
That's also a great question. So for the music and entertainment side of things, we have been working with sound engineers that came specifically with I can't wait for you to see it though, the second floor, the way we've designed the walls, the carpets, the rugs, everything that we specifically chose to make sure that there's no noise, excessively noise going outside that's going to disrupt the community. So we'll definitely be managing that, making sure that we hold up to that.
How's
Thank you.
parking around there too? Because it
Parking?
sounds like you could have, I mean, if you were at full capacity, how many people could you handle?
So for our liquor license, we have to have at least 120 seats for that. So for seating, it's up to 120 that will be taken care of. Unless, let's just say the city wanted to do some sort of gathering or Christmas party, something like that. That might be a little different. But for parking wise, we do have a lovely garage that you guys built recently in the back, which we're gonna find a real creative way to utilize that. And I know that you have parking here after 5 o'clock here, but I'm sure that's gonna change over time. And then we do have the street parking as well, but we're kind of advocating pushing people towards the parking lot. Parking garage.
I'd like to ask the city, what are the code violations that are there? I know that you'd obviously have to fix that before, but it mentioned in our package that there were some code violations there. Is it anything big or? Because we know there was various, other tenants in there before and,
Actually, I believe it was more on the ownership side. It was either operating without a license or not having a vacant property registered.
oh, okay.
So I
okay.
believe it's something that they've cleared up and
Okay.
don't
All
have
right,
an issue
great.
right now.
I have one question for staff. Since this was the same use before, I don't know if it's been vacant for how long, I have no idea, not too long though. So I guess that the conditional use that goes with the owner rather than with the property, or has it just,
Yeah, it carries with the specific business, not the
okay, I see,
the building use.
yeah.
I don't believe that slide up there is the correct slide for this. Talking about a medical building. For the conditions, yeah, back. Back.
No, one more.
Oh. It's correct.
Correct on our paper.
Not running a medical office out of there.
There we go. All right, so we're good? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And good luck.
I'd like to make a motion.
Let's go
Hey,
for
please
it.
go ahead.
I move to approve HRPB project number 25-005-00003 with staff recommendation condition for conditional use permit at 921 Lake Avenue based on the competence and substantial evidence provided by staff report and testimony of the hearing
This includes amended conditions.
and the amended condition, yeah.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
When are you going to be open?
Nope. Don't forget the seniors.
Happy hour just for you.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Good evening. Ann Hamilton presenting case number 25-001000146, which is the consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for demolition of the existing garage structure and new construction of an accessory dwelling unit of approximately 797 square feet at 313 South Palm Way. Here's a location map for your reference. The property is located on the west side of South Palm Way between 3rd Avenue South and 4th Avenue South. As you can see on the current lot conditions, there is currently a garage structure in the rear of a one-story residence. And you can see it here in the aerial. It is the flat roof structure in the back. Just for reference, this is a photo of the existing structure as it exists now. The applicants are intending to do some minor alterations to it at a staff level. But the main request here is to demolish this rear. It was previously a garage. They're calling it a garage shed. Obviously, it's not in the world's best condition. And to construct a new accessory dwelling unit to the rear there. So here are the elevations for the accessory structure. It's generally based off of the existing primary structure. Looks in keeping with the neighborhood as a whole. South elevation, north elevation, west elevation. and the proposed floor plan, which does meet the required living space for an ADU. So as far as the criteria for demolition, this is actually a non-contributing structure. You can see it's circled in the back of the survey for this area. And obviously it is not in great condition. It has also been recommended to remain non-contributing in the 2020 resurvey of this area. So as said before, this is in keeping with the frame vernacular style of the existing structure in terms of height, massing, wall finished, fenestration. And just for reference, the frame vernacular style. It meets all required zoning. And we are recommending approval of the proposed ADU and demolition as it is consistent with the city's land development regulation, the historic preservation ordinance, and the historic preservation design guidelines for new construction. And if you do move to approve, there are some recommended conditions of approval in your packet.
Read that.
Thank you.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
So, yeah.
Would you like to say so? You don't have to. I mean, if you'd like. Okay. All right. Yeah. Y'all have any questions?
Was that a yes or no?
No. Good
Sure, I have a question.
for staff. And the
Um,
owners.
maybe staff.
Okay.
Do we know, are they in a flood zone?
So they are in a flood zone, but the new building meets the flood requirements.
It's meaning that it's gonna be above a certain elevation.
Yeah.
My question maybe for more for staff is, it seems like the demolition and the construction are, tied together. Hypothetically, would it be possible to approve the demolition but not the construction, to separate those two out theoretically?
Theoretically, I'm not sure that's something that the applicant would probably want to move forward with because the demolition is sort of with the intention of doing the new construction. But sure, that is something that you could do.
Why? What's the purpose of it?
So in your code, actually, for you to consider a certificate of appropriateness for demolition, it has to be accompanied by a certificate of appropriateness for the new construction. So those two have to be combined.
Can't
Correct.
do one without the other.
Correct.
Right.
But
So we have to approve them.
He did a what? He did a what?
right. I understand that's helpful to have as information. If theoretically, if one of us on the board were not wanting to vote on the construction of the property, the new construction, we say, yes, you can demolish it, but we have some concerns about some aspect of the new construction. Could that be possible in terms of asking for some modification, clarification?
Maybe
I
the question is there something in the new construction that we would need to hear? Like, we don't vote on everything, right?
Well, I mean, so I think if you have any concerns about the new construction, say there's something about the design that you don't like, or you want the applicant to revise something, that would, I think, more be a situation where you'd want to continue the entire application, so that they could address those concerns. Either that or, approve it with conditions to say, well, we'd like something to be different. But I guess without knowing exactly what you're driving at, it's a little bit difficult to
Right.
address.
Well, I mean, I'd like to hear more about the new construction. I don't want to just sit up here and rubber stamp everything just because it's existed. It exists. I want to be able to, to learn more about what the applicant is wanting to have us approve.
Well, I also trust, because it's gone through staff. So
There it is.
my thinking is I trust their decisions on these things. From my
The
perspective.
applicant can speak to it. I mean, if there's a particular issue with the design,
I'm not saying there is. I just want to
um,
ask the question. Sorry.
I mean, there's lots of
And-
answers here
Yeah,
and
you
points
have-
on the new construction where, the analysis states in various, various sections. Windows and doors generally compatible, plans, both. So if there's something you're questioning, you could look at all of those points and see, is there something you want to question?
This on, shows on, what, 40-foot lot, a 30-foot lot? So now it's like a small lot.
I think it's your standard 50 by 135.
That's 6750 square feet.
That's 50 by 135.
Right.
Now there's a survey just for reference.
Is there
your
something?
standard lot.
Yeah, is there something that stands out?
No, I'm just asking questions.
You're asking a question.
I'm just asking questions.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we're good to proceed?
yeah.
This is not a rentable unit then, or is it? Can be.
No, so this is an accessory dwelling unit. It's a rentable unit because this isn't a multifamily district.
Okay.
So they're allowed.
Yeah.
to
Okay.
construct.
So this unit would be rented then?
Well, it's not for we're going to be selling the house once we renovate it.
Name and address, please.
Oh, okay. It's Karen Hibbert, 6274 Pine Drive, Lake Worth, Florida, 33462.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm sorry, I'm just being a little, I don't even know what the word is. Curious.
I got it.
I'm just curious. So you don't currently live at this residence?
No,
Okay.
It's
this
invested.
is an investment property.
It's an investment
Yes,
property.
but-
Okay,
yeah.
okay. So you want to do an ADU and then,
We're gonna renovate
Ren-
the main house,
Mhm.
exterior, interior,
Mhm.
build the new ADU, and then put it on the market.
okay, how long have you owned the property for?
I think we passed in April
Mhm.
this year, April.
So this would be sold as complete
A complete
property
package.
together.
Exactly.
Okay.
Mhm. One whole package.
Nice.
Well, that's more information than I had than this afternoon, so thank you. Okay.
Anything else?
Are we good?
Good. Like to make a motion?
Thank you.
Move to approve. HRBB project number 25-000-23 with staff recommendation condition from. Ah, shit, I'm
Wrong one. Ends with,
Hold on a minute. gotta go
ends with a
back.
46.
46. Okay. Go back over to the 46. I got it, buddy.
Get out of here.
It's on the screen if you'd like to read
I
it.
can't see that far up. That way I don't make motion. I'm a senior citizen.
Oh, we know that.
All right, I move to approve HBR project number 25, thank you, 0000010010046 with staff recommendation with certified appropriateness for demolition of existing accessories, structures, construction of new access dwelling or unit at 313 South Palmway based upon competent substantial evidence of staff report and pursuant to City of Lake Worth, Beach, Florida, Development Regulation of Historic Preservation Requirements.
I have a motion. Could I get a second, please?
I second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? We're good.
Good.
Unanimous.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
What are we doing now?
I just want to clarify my question more procedural than any kind of concerns I had about the proposal.
Our word.
All good.
It's all good.
I'm glad, good, you mentioned, because we're trying to discourage people doing speculative demolition, so I'm kind of glad you brought it up.
All right, so next up we have ordinance 2025-13. So this is consideration of a privately initiated ordinance. Most of the time when we take LDR amendments to you all, it's staff initiated, things that we've collected over time. This is a little different. It is that privately initiated ordinance. So you got a little bit of the background in your staff report. Some property owners came to us. They have a use that they could do, except their lot's a little too small for it. So staff met with them, our director met with them. We looked at our supplemental regulations for single destination retail, standalone retail, and single destination commercial uses. This particular property falls under a single destination commercial use. Took a look at them and kind of took a look at the reasoning behind some of those regulations. So these sorts of uses include things like a big box store or something that is really more appropriate on a larger plot of land. And when our LDRs went through major amendments back in 2013, the idea was that we would have consolidation of existing parcels along our major thoroughfares, and these larger uses would go in there. Here we are, 12 years later, and that hasn't really happened very much. So kind of taking a look at, what we do have on the ground, staff recommended that they consider bringing forward some privately initiated amendments regarding the site area and lot width to better reflect our existing lot sizes. What the applicants brought forward went a bit beyond that, which is why we've got this kind of partial support going on. So what staff is recommending, kind of, you want to call it like a counter offer to what the applicants have proposed. So reducing the minimum site area for these use types from 10,000 square feet to 6,500 square feet in all zoning districts that currently allow these uses. Reducing the minimum lot width from 100 feet to 50 feet in all zoning districts that allow these uses. And then exempting low intensity uses, so those use areas under 2,500 square feet, from the requirement to front a major thoroughfare. So the thought there is we're keeping the requirement that these larger types of uses should be on our major commercial roads. But if it's a much, much smaller single destination retail use, then it can fit into our neighborhood commercial areas much better than, if someone wanted to do a Walmart. So those are the three that we're supporting with some edits. The areas that we most differed from the applicants were about landscaping, glazing, and display windows. Now, since we wrote this staff report originally, the same staff report for these goes to you all and to PZB. PZB met last week. In the interim between us sending out the app packet for PZB 2 weeks ago and now, the applicants have worked to meet us in the middle a little more. They, at PZB, they talked about they're no longer proposing any changes to the glazing and display window requirements. And they've proposed, instead of fully exempting the sites in TOD from perimeter and site-wide landscape requirements, instead requesting some sort of language to allow staff and the development review official to basically give flexibility for perimeter landscaping for existing sites. If a site is in a commercial area, all of the commercial buildings are lined up, no space between them, and perimeter landscaping's just literally not feasible because the buildings are already there and it's built out. They would like to request that the language reflect some option for flexibility for specifically the 5-foot perimeter landscaping. So that's kind of their most up-to-date proposal there. And the city is open to figuring out some language to reflect that. So our recommendation, and what the PZB ended up voting to recommend to the City Commission last week, is recommending that they adopt Ordinance 2025-13 with the staff-supported amendments, including revisions to the landscape to offer that perimeter landscaping flexibility. Let me see. And we do have the applicant here tonight as well, if you've got questions for them or to discuss further.
So is the issue just now still the landscaping?
Pretty much, that's the only area, you know, where there was still disagreement. The applicants were totally fine with expanding the minimum site area and lot width, expanding that change to all applicable zoning districts.
Well, if there's a building there already,
Mhm.
how do you want them to do landscaping?
So
What's realistic?
right now, and that's kind of what they're asking for. So our supplemental regulations, as they read right now, the site must be provided with a minimum 5-foot wide perimeter planting area, and site landscaping shall comply with adopted landscape regulations. So where they're looking for that flexibility is where we're saying right now that it must have that perimeter planting area. So they're asking for the language to reflect that flexibility of, what are they supposed to do if it's a built out site?
We're giving staff flexibility,
Exactly.
changing those. Now, realistically, where is this pertaining to? I mean, I understand what we're doing with our regulations, but there is a site specific.
The site that initiated this is 23 South H Street.
Okay, so we're right here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. How we doing, sir?
Good evening.
You could state your name and address, please.
Certainly. My name is Armax. Is this on? My name is Armax Lohman from the Lohman Law Group. No,
We could hear you.
there it is.
All right.
Okay, there's. My name is Armax Lohman from Lohman Law Group, 515 Flagler Drive, West Palm Beach, Florida. And I'm the attorney for I always JTA one LLC. I always try to remember that PMRS is the tenant. And I agree with everything Mr. Green said, and I appreciate being able to work with her and work through this. And like she said, we finally got a discussion about our proposals versus staff's opinion of those proposals after that the document was already provided. And we do completely agree with all the staff's recommendations. Some of this was really my fault, my misunderstanding of some of the basically where my client's property was and a misreading of the glazing requirements. So the only thing that we had asked additionally, and that with planning and zoning board supported, was to we had proposed that the community sustainability director or designee, that they would have the ability to adjust or waive the requirements for the perimeter landscaping, not the rest of the landscaping requirements, for those cases that we just discussed. And you've got situations where I know you've seen them throughout the city. You've got buildings that are commercial buildings that are butting right up against each other. So there's literally no way to put in perimeter landscaping. But instead of just eliminating the requirement, giving them the flexibility to reduce it from 5 feet to a distance that would work for in those cases where you can do something. You may not be able to do 5 feet, but you could do something.
Right.
And that's what we were asking for, and planning and zoning board supported that as well. And so we're in complete agreement with staff's recommendation, and that's what we would ask for tonight, is that if the board looks favorably on this, that you would adopt, recommend approval of this with staff's recommendation, and with the recommendation that staff be empowered to waive those requirements or reduce them. And in some instances, they may have to eliminate them because you've got existing buildings that it just can't be done.
Okay. Questions, ladies?
Well, I don't think we're empowering anybody. We're making recommendations to the city commission,
That's what
correct?
we're doing.
Right. Ed?
It is difficult to work within 5 feet boundary. When it's just only 5 feet, even if you reduce it down to 3 feet, then if you put the hedges, then you gotta maintain them. I mean, it's a really hard situation, but if it's all possible, can you use some kind of artificial landscaping to substitute for that? That way there's less maintenance.
No.
What kind of do?
Our code,
I'm just
like our landscape requirements don't really contemplate use of like an artificial hedge.
I mean,
No.
yeah, I would either we waive it completely and let it be, because it's hard to maintain 5 feet.
Well, they're basically just giving staff more flexibility when it comes to those odd properties that don't have room for a hedge, or they don't have 5 feet on the
Right.
side. So it's just giving staff a little more flex
And then inside that flexibility, what will you do? I'm interested to see what, I'm interested to hear, because, you know, we say waive it and we say we have the staff, and then next guy's not too happy with it. What you recommend?
So it would be a site specific
Yeah.
um,
Base.
Each case
basis.
would be
Yeah,
decided
so
on its own.
you know,
Yeah.
this is.
And I assume it
if
would come
it's-
back to us if you didn't, if you
They
said
didn't
no
accept
and they
it,
said
right.
yes, and so.
And when these criteria are applicable, it's always because it's an administrative use permit, which is a staff level zoning process, or a conditional use permit, which would already come to you anyway. So, you know, if someone needed a CUP or it would also come to planning and zoning board, just depending on who is the applicable board for that particular property. So, you know, let's say it was a vacant lot, we would not really support any waivers there for the landscaping because you're starting fresh. You know, you have no reason that you couldn't comply with the code. If it's a property that has, you know, a foot, maybe there's not really anything that's going to grow there. Is there anything else that we can do to buffer if there's a neighboring property that, you know, let's say you neighbor a residential property or something? What sort of buffers can we do to get some of the same effect?
Your
Do
property,
you have 4 feet? You know, it would be a case by case basis.
your property, you got a 2-story next door to your property? Is it 1-story or 2-story next to your property?
There is a one-story building on the south side of the property, and there is a vacant lot on the other side of the property. But this property is it's pretty old, and it butts up. It's not right on the property line, the building, but it's I think we have 2 or 3 feet on the north and the south side. So there would be a possibility of being able to put in something. I mean, always what you get run into is how far the footer sticks out from the wall of the building. That's what people sometimes miss when they look at a wall building. They go, oh, you got 4 feet to the property line, but you got an 18-inch footer that sticks out from the edge of the wall. And so, but that's why we were suggesting that as an option to be able to work with staff. And I know that we could come to some kind of reasonable accommodation, because my client is more than happy to do what they can do to comply with the code and make sure that it's attractive. The building has been, not that it's necessarily germane for this application, but the building has been beautified since he bought it. He put in landscaping in the front. It looks like a brand new building. It's just right now, he wasn't required to put in perimeter landscaping when he first bought it, but now because of this and what we're trying to get as a conditional use, as this particular type of use, then he would, and he's more than happy to do whatever is reasonably necessary to comply with the city's requirements. I mean, he wants to have a pretty building and contribute to the city. You know, he didn't come here because he wants to have a dumpy little building and look bad.
Right.
Okay.
Thank
Can
you.
you,
Thank you.
Make a motion.
Question.
Oh, we had a question.
Well, no, more of a statement. Like, every property's different, so, you know, giving the staff flexibility makes total sense. I'm not sure I would want to frame it as a reduction in the requirement, because maybe it's just a different way of doing things. That's how I would look at it as a designer, and, you know, I see a lot of site plans and something works here, but it doesn't work over here, so.
Quite true, quite true.
Well, and if you have limitations, because the building's already there, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, what would you say then? It couldn't be done? I mean, what's
So-
the other option?
Yeah, I mean, the way that the supplemental regulations work is they are specific additional development standards for particular uses. So these single destination uses have them, townhouses have them, daycares have them. So generally, if they can't meet one of these, they can't go there, which is why this got kicked off with the site area.
But then who
because it
could
was-
go there?
Well, it's this particular use couldn't go there. It's not that nothing could ever be done there. It's that this particular use couldn't go on that particular site.
Okay.
I mean, but if the building is next to another building, nobody's going to have landscaping, perimeter landscaping, are they?
Well, but perimeter landscaping requirement is specific to this type of use. So if they were proposing another use that didn't have that requirement, it wouldn't.
Like, what would that be?
For this zoning district, if they were doing some sort of use that was permitted by right, like let's say that they were doing, and this is purely an example, let's say that, in that zoning district, a restaurant of this size was permitted by right. It wouldn't have these use standards that are tied to a single destination, retail and commercial use. It'd just be permitted by right and a go to business license.
That's another discussion, but.
Are we ready?
We're ready.
I'm sorry.
No, we're not.
Could I learn a little bit more about the TOD districts, the transit-oriented development districts, like basically where they're located? Because I'm having a hard time conceptualizing this, and maybe I learned it a year and a half ago. I don't remember.
Let me pull up our handy dandy zoning map. So generally, a transit-oriented development district is what it sounds like. It's a particular area that it's generally located near some sort of transit option.
Train line, bus line.
Yeah, trains are often, let's see, official zoning map. And they changed the colors on these recently. So let's see. And let me share this so the people on Zoom can also see all of our information here.
Thank you, Andy.
If it'll let me open it. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So here we are at City Hall. This light gray here, right across from us, like here's the Bohemian. This is transit-oriented development east. All of this gray here. So if we zoom out a little bit, you can see we've got some light gray here. We've got some light gray here. I believe we've got some, up here around 10th Avenue North. And we may have some on the very northern edge of the city as well. Maybe not. So then our other transit-oriented development is transit-oriented development west, which is this darker gray here. So you can see here is Lake Worth Road right by the Tri-Rail station. And we don't have too much transit-oriented development west because we don't have too much to the west. But so that's kind of generally where things are congregated. We've got another little section of transit-oriented development east around 10th Avenue South and Dixie as well.
Show us where this piece is.
Yeah.
Right across the street.
So the site that initiated this conversation is right here. So we're here. Bohemian's there. Here is 23 South.
Two buildings behind the restaurant.
Right.
That's super helpful. Nice work. Thank you.
All right. I move to recommend to the City Commission to adopt the staff revised LDR text amendments included in the proposed ordinance 2025-13.
Is that with the consideration of additional flexibility for perimeter landscaping?
Yes.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All those in favor, please.
Aye.
All right, we're good.
Thank you very much for your.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
We don't need to do the next one.
It sound like.
Hmm?
Sound like we need to.
Just duplicate of the same thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, shut. You really,
There's two.
if you have commercial district, it should apply for all. It should do this and do that. And do
Oh,
the
that's a
other.
whole nother.
Oh.
That's
a good
another
point.
conversation, but it needs to be cleaned up.
I understand.
Do you want to raise that?
Well, why does it have two potential motions on our sheet here?
They
Well-
wanted to mess with you.
Did you see there's, at least on our paperwork, there's two potential motions?
There's staff revised LDR text and applicant proposed LDR text.
Yes, we gave both motions in case you guys were like, we hate what the staff is recommending. We want to
Oh.
go straight with what the applicant wants to do.
Okay.
We wanted to give you both options.
Okay, good.
Just in case.
So when we approved as the staff revised.
Correct.
Thank you.
Fine.
Good question.
Where are we now?
All right, who's next? Jan? All right.
Right, so we're on new business item D. It's HRPD project number 25-00000023. It's a consideration of a certificate of appropriateness and planning and zoning application for installation of a mural at 1028 North Federal Highway. It's located in the mixed-use Federal Highway, and it's a non-contributing resource in the Northeast Wilson Historic District.
Yeah.
Here's a map showing the location. And this came to the HRPB for a CUP approval for use as a medical office for their ABA therapy. And as you can see here in the drawing, in the rendering, this is the mural that they're proposing. It's by Leonardo Molero. Sorry if I mispronounced it. He's also responsible for designing the Bohemian murals right across. And this is located, the mural is located on the front elevation and it's also visible from North Federal Highway. And the designs are Lego sets, geometric designs, and imageries.
They just did a fresh remodel on that building, didn't they? Like fresh coat of paint and all that?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so.
This slide provides the general mural criteria, and as outlined in the staff report, the mural will be on the front of the structure and will be facing North Federal Highway. Therefore, the HRPD must consider if this is appropriate location for the mural.
Fine.
Typically, murals are recommended on the side or rear elevation. And also, the drawing provided here shows signage. So if you can see it here, right here, but that's not part of this approval, and this will be done at a separate building permit and will require staff review, administrative review as well. This slide provides the community appearance criteria, and as outlined again in the staff report, the proposed design appears to be in good taste and design. The mural will not cause harm to the local environment, and it's also in harmony with existing murals in the city and as well in the mixed-use Federal Highway. This slide provides the general COA criteria for exterior alterations for non-conforming structures. This installation is in the front elevation, but it would not affect any character defining features. But also as historically, murals are not seen in the front facade. They typically to be on the rear or on the side. So this is atypical for murals.
So why,
I'm sorry.
why we put?
Usually any commercial messages tend to be on the side so people could see it, and also it doesn't hide the front facade. That's typically why they did that. So staff recommends approval. These are the conditions of approval, and these are the potential motions. I believe also we have the applicant, I can let her in as well.
Did you say it is going on the front or is
Yes.
not going?
It is
It is going on. the
Yes.
front.
It's not a visible side from outside, but the mural can be seen.
Mural could be seen from North Federal Highway, so.
So the
Right.
front.
The whole
But it looked like the way,
Right?
yeah, it's going on the front, yeah.
Going on the front.
But it's more like on the top and the sides and the middle, so it's not like the entire,
This is
Yeah.
federal.
just like what you see there.
So it faces federal, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
But is this setting a precedent?
It's on the front.
Mind you saying the-
No, like, so it's like the Bohemian also, their murals is facing the front.
Good for them.
And I believe
What?
the applicant is not here.
Okay.
Might have walked out. So.
I'm just concerned. Are we setting a precedent?
No, it's not a precedent because the Bohemian also by the same artist was done at the front. It's just the board that has to decide if it's appropriate or not. Typically, what we recommend is the front, I mean, the rear or the side.
If the applicant was here, I could ask staff perhaps, how was this artist chosen? Is because they did the Bohemian also? Because it says that the artist, it says Pasadena, California. So I don't know if this is local person also has an office in Pasadena, or, we're not using a local artist.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I'm not sure, but they did work here locally, so they do have experience working on Lakewood Beach.
Spends his winters here. I don't know. All right, if we don't have any other questions, could we get a motion, please?
I was just wondering, is there
Okay.
any way, like, because I'm kind of having a hard time visual. I mean, I get the map, but I'm having a hard time visualizing. Is there any way we could just like bring up a Google Earth of where that is?
Here. Oh, I think they just did a quick redo of it.
Okay,
You know where that is.
recognize that building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I drive by that all the time.
Thank you, David.
Well, everybody else, other people might. They got it. They got it.
Right here.
There you go, that building. They did a refresh on it. They've been working on it.
And so it's
Basin Federal.
which three are we looking down here? Are we
At
looking
11.
This
east?
is 11th Avenue.
We're looking east.
East.
Okay.
That's the front.
Oh, so I'm glad we looked, because they actually, like, there's a parking lot from
Correct.
Federal.
So,
There's
but
a
if you
parking
go to
lot in
Federal-
front. and
There's the
then-
light on 10 right there.
Yeah.
And there's higher vegetation in the front now
Yeah.
from that photo.
So that's the side of the building that you're zooming in on right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, I zoomed out, but yeah.
Right.
And the applicant is also back. If you would like to ask her questions, I can unmute her.
Got a question, Laura? We're good? We're good. All right. They're good.
Okay.
Make a motion?
Yes.
Move to approve. HRPB project number 25000023. The staff recommendation, which was staff recommended condition for mural installation for structure located at 1028 North Federal Highway. Applicant meets the mural criteria based on the data. Analysis of staff reports.
Okay, we got a motion. Could I get a second, please?
Second.
Motion, first and a second. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. What is that?
Any cash?
Is that choir in the,
Hearing the choir, it's not a good sign.
wow, is that
E
youth choir?
windows, okay.
Meaning the floor, maybe?
Still got Mr. Blackman coming.
Archer.
Which ones?
Yes.
Yes,
Nice.
I think so.
Oh, it is. It is, yeah.
Yeah.
What do we have? Three left, two left, one left?
Yeah.
One left?
Two.
South Chase.
Any?
Okay, good evening. Ann Hamilton presenting case number 25-00100192, which is consideration of a certificate of appropriateness for replacement windows at the property located at 30 South J Street 11B. This is a non-contributing property in the Old Town Historic District. So here's a location map. It's located on the east side of South J Street between Lake Avenue and First Avenue South. And it is a 16-unit condominium building. So here's a photo of the site. This is the front of the site. It's hard to see the individual units, but this is a photo of the rear as well. This can be seen from the parking lot to the rear. You can actually see most sides of the building. So even though this is a non-contributing structure, we are reviewing all elevations of it. This is what the applicant is proposing. So they have currently awning windows there. And then you can see that they're replacing them as proposed with single hung windows. So here are the original plans for the building. It was built in 1971, so it is non-contributing, but it does actually look very similar to how it was originally constructed. So in December of 2017, the first window replacement was requested in this structure. And it did go to the Hrpb for review. Staff did recommend denial of the application as proposed and recommended either retaining the existing windows or replacing them with aluminum single hung and or casement windows with triangular buttons to replicate the original awning windows. The Hrpb heard the case, but the conditions between the minutes of the meeting and the development order are a little bit different. So in the minutes of the meeting, the way that it was stated was the approval is for the entire building. It's contingent on the receipt of a letter from the HOA accepting the conditions on behalf of all residents. So the idea was all windows in the building to be replaced to match. And the locations of horizontal rollers, single hung or double hung windows would be from a HOA letter. Material, either vinyl or aluminum, and double or single hung windows may be used. When the conditions of approval were drafted, the way that it was written was essentially that all replacement windows facing the north, south, and east property lines shall be replaced with horizontal roller windows. Replacement windows facing the west property line, including all windows within the courtyard, shall be replaced with double hung windows with horizontal 2/2 muntins applied to replicate the original divided light patterns. Single hung or double hung windows may be used. Now, so on the original plans, that would be those courtyard windows, but not that rear or side elevation. Now, after that, we got an HOA letter that said that the windows on the north, south, and east sides of the building facing property lines will be replaced with double hung aluminum windows. All windows within the inside courtyard, north and south, facing J Street and inside courtyard, north and south, must be replaced with double hung aluminum windows. So we've got essentially 3 different conflicting replacement options for this property. And since then, approximately 11 out of 16 of the condominiums have replaced their windows. Now, the way that I interpret it, that development order is binding. So we do need them to replace with horizontal roller windows everywhere except for in the courtyard. So that would be like you see on the left there. But clearly, a lot of the windows have been replaced with single hung windows. And I think that this is honestly a result of staff changes over time, and it's a little bit hard to interpret when you have 3 different, written orders that say how to replace the windows on this building. So the applicant is asking to do horizontal single hung windows rather than the horizontal slider windows. This is actually what the design guidelines say is the most successful or more successful replacement for awning windows. Now, a single leaf casement window would be ideal, but a single hung window with 4 horizontal lights is appropriate. So therefore, we are recommending approval of the application because this is actually closer to the design guidelines. So here are the proposed motions and conditions of approval. One thing to say is one of the conditions is hopefully, the first condition is any replacements going forward would follow this. And any of those horizontal slider windows that were replaced in the past, in the future, if they were replaced, it would follow this development order.
Putting this on the rest of the building.
Basically.
Eventually.
If the remaining
They don't have to.
We don't have to.
units
We don't have to.
come in to do their window replacements, we're obviously not going to come out and tell them that they have to replace their windows. We don't have power to do that. But
Correct.
if and when they do come in, which I'm sure they will at some point because it seems to be a bug that's bitten everyone in the building, at least we can get some of them, most of them to be consistent.
But is it legal?
What?
The windows?
What you're trying to get to trying to get to the consistency.
We're trying to get consistency at least, yeah,
I know.
to the best of our ability.
So it's owner by owner.
It's owner,
not-
right.
It's not by the condominium associate. It's each owner is gonna replace their own windows when and if
Eventually.
they decide to do so.
Yeah, but electively.
But it seems like the original, development order, was it 1971, was it?
So 1971 is when the building was built. The development order for the last.
It was 2017.
case.
I apologize, I misspoke, it's 2017. So there was a directive recommendation, whatever word you want to use, in 2017, that there be consistency throughout the entire building.
Yes.
But
And then they just kind of went
Yeah.
But
hog wild and did what they want to do.
when staff reviewed it, they didn't follow what the development order said, which the development order says, well, it needs to be replaced with horizontal roller windows. They followed, I'm guessing, either what the HOA letter said or the design guidelines.
They had
But-
conflicting
but-
information.
Aren't we going into a gray area where, so wait a minute. Huh? How we know that when they replaced back there in 2017 with impact? You don't know that.
No, we
You don't.
have the permit history for it and the product.
Was it impact?
Yeah. Yeah,
But they're not going to have to change it.
No.
About new work.
New
Yeah.
work moving forward.
Yeah.
now, I mean, in 20 years, if this development order from this case is still in file somewhere, hopefully someone will look back to it when they replace those horizontal roller windows and say, okay, we need to follow this, but I can't tell when that's
I
going.
want to build it in a building like that, you know, it just.
Well, I like that you're going back more towards what it was supposed to look
agree.
like. I think that would look better.
More consistent.
I mean, you could even probably put muntins or whatever it's called or mullions on the sliders to make them look
Yeah.
similar.
That may have been the intent in the original development order.
Ah.
It's not written that way though. So
Not a contributing stuff.
yeah, and I think part of the problem is it's non-contributing. So even though it's non-contributing, you know, you can see most of this building. Let's at least get something halfway decent going.
I'm curious to see if the clamshells are going to stay on with the window replacement.
I'm not sure if the applicant is here. I'm guessing they probably won't keep them. Oh.
When was it built?
Come out, you gotta say your name and address.
Free Win, 7751 Northwest 37th Street in Hollywood, Florida.
Oh, nice, right.
Yeah, they are gonna be removed. Part of the job.
Thank you.
Why do y'all have so many variations? I mean, you can't seem to agree on what you guys want. I mean, you have your organization meeting, right? Your your condo association meeting, you have your meetings, right?
The homeowner.
Do the windows ever come up?
The homeowner, I'm with Rights Impact Window and Door, the window.
Oh, yes, I think.
This is
Wrong guy.
homeowner.
Oh, forget about it.
Mine in
Get my question.
All good.
Well,
Oh, y'all good.
to give some background, you know, Rights has done actually a number of the recent windows in here. I've reviewed a lot of them. And Rights has been putting this as a request in. I've been telling them, no, we have a development order. You can't do that. So, you know, some of the recent replacements have followed that development order. I think the homeowner in this case said, well, hang on, that doesn't match what's there, and I want it to match what's there. So he's, you know, making this request, I think rightfully so, because it really is more appropriate, what he wants to do.
Okay.
Here's another question. This property, since it was built in, what, 1972? Might it be a contributing structure, and when would that occur?
So, you know, in the future, if we ever did a resurvey, yeah, I think this one, I at least would say that it seems like it would be eligible to become contributing. It's 50 years old or older. It has a very distinct architectural style. It's retained it. You know, the window replacements luckily are fixable. So it's not contributing now because we haven't resurveyed, you know, properties from the 70s. But I think in the future, if we were to start considering properties from the 70s in a resurvey, yeah, I think this would qualify.
Would this be replacing the development order that previously existed? Would this be considered a new development order, or are they not connected?
So you can clean up your paperwork there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first condition is intended to kind of supersede the original development order and say, no, anything going forward needs to comply with this, rather than.
So again, I'm just learning. I'm learning all the time. First time I heard the term development order, so it's kind of new. So is this considered a development order that supersedes the
Yeah, so
old one?
Yeah, so when, you know, a application goes before you as a board, you know, you approve or deny, and then we write a development order. It gets sent to the chair signs off on it. And then the applicant has that, and that is supposed to, you know, in most COAs, it expires after a year. Something like this, where it's meant to kind of blanket cover a condo, doesn't really, you know, apply the same in terms of like an expiration, especially when it's written to, you know, be going forward. But so, yes, the intent here is for this to supersede the previous and be a guide for the property owners going forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann.
But yes, it would only apply to this unit because it's one
Right.
application, but again, going forward, we want.
Yeah, so if the next attorney or manufacturer of windows comes up and finds old information, which would probably be easy to do if you're, looking back through, stuff, what would I guess is still going to come in front of you, and then you're going to say, that's old, we're not doing this.
We would say, well, you need to meet the design guidelines, you need to meet the, replacements that we decided going forward for this building. We would be reviewing as staff, assuming they didn't put windows in without permits, which they're not supposed to do anyway, so that's kind of a moot point.
Thank you.
Because they're probably going to say, but the people next door have such and whatever, how that always is.
And then I think we can honestly say that is something that we have tried to fix because we agree it's a little bit inconsistent.
Like my neighbor has a door like that.
Ready?
Motion.
Move to approve. Yes. My night, I guess.
Go on.
Move to approve. Hrpb, project number 25-001-009-192, with staff recommendation condition of certified appropriateness for windows replacement to the existing residential at 30 South J Street, Unit 11B, based upon competence, substantial evidence, and staff reports pursuant to the City of Lake Worth Beach land development regulation and historical preservation requirements.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Last but not least.
That's not me. Project number you've all been moved.
Hey, good evening. Ann Hamilton presenting case number 25-001-00175. This is the consideration of a certificate of appropriateness to demolish the front of the principal structure, construction of a new front addition, and one variance from base flood elevation requirements of the Florida Building Code at 714 South Palm Way. This is a contributing resource to the South Palm Park Historic District and is located in the single-family residential zoning district. So for reference, this property is on the east side of South Palm Way between 7th Avenue South and 8th Avenue South. And it is a little bit unique in terms of the fact that it's a dual front lot, which we have some of in the city. It's not something you see every day. But the code does have specific requirements in terms of setbacks for these lots. So you can see here in the current lot conditions, the applicant does have the proposed addition on this survey, but you can in green see the existing structure. The existing structure is set back about 50 feet from 56.9 feet from the street. And it does have that dual front on South Lakeside, which you're required a 20-foot setback there as well. So like a front setback would be on both sides. Here's an aerial of the property as it exists today and the existing structure. So for some history of the property, this is the original architectural drawings, which we're lucky enough to have of this property. As you can see, it's fairly similar to how it originally looked. And here's the site plan, so you can just look at kind of the roof orientation and how it was originally constructed. In 1966, the property owner did move forward a front porch and switch the front door and window locations and do an addition to the rear of the structure. While this did alter the building, this at this point is 50 years old or older and doesn't radically alter the structure, and the structure does retain contributing status. So just as a heads up, it has had, some front facade alterations. But as you can see here, generally, up until fairly recently, it retained its original windows, garage door openings, and overall structural shape. So just as a point, you can actually see here where those windows have, been flipped with the front door. And then in 2017 as well, the applicant did go to the Hrpb for approval of horizontal slider windows in the front. So the other red black box there is a window that has been replaced. So they have had their window openings altered and enlarged. And again, here's the original. Here's the proposed site plan. So the applicant is proposing to extend the structure to the front towards South Palmway, which is generally not historically appropriate to do a front addition. As a comparison, here's the existing front elevation. So you can see that those windows have been replaced. The door location has been moved, but the roof line, the general opening pattern is all similar. And the original window and door openings could be put back in the future, which is why it's still contributing. This is the proposed front elevation. So the applicant is proposing to bring forward that bay essentially across from the garage, make it more symmetrical, and enlarge the door opening into a porch in the front. Here's your side elevation. As you can see, they are retaining the back of the structure and adding on to the front. And same here. And no changes to the rear elevation. This is just a photo. The applicant didn't provide any drawings, but I wanted you to be able to see what the rear looks like. So here's the existing roof plan and the proposed roof plan. The applicant did revise their roof plan based on conversations with staff in order to keep it more in line with the existing hip roof shape. However, you can see there it is coming forward. And if you compare between the existing and proposed floor plans, it does appear that the garage is extending forward a bit. So I believe that small section above the garage should also be coming forward a little bit on the roof plan. But here on the proposed floor plans, you can see that rear structure shaded in, rear section shaded in gray is the original structure. The applicant is proposing to demolish essentially the front wall and then add a portion of a foyer and a master bedroom to the front there. Here's a streetscape the applicant provided, which shows both the existing and proposed front elevations in context of the surrounding environment. So as far as the addition, the primary requirement for additions, based on the Secretary of Interior standards for rehabilitation and additions, is that new additions do not radically change, obscure, damage, or destroy the character-defining features of a historic structure, and they should not appear to be part of the historic fabric of the structure. As proposed, because it's on the front and essentially doesn't differentiate itself from the existing historic structure, this would obscure the original front facade, destroy the historic fabric of the building, and create a false sense of history by purporting to be the original front elevation. And below you can see an excerpt from the design guidelines in terms of appropriate and inappropriate additions. Now, this is obviously, in the context of a rear addition, the way that the graphic is designed. But, in the X'd out one, you can see that adding on top of a historic structure is not appropriate, and neither is adding to the front of one. So for analysis, is every reasonable effort being made to provide a compatible use for the property? No, because the addition is not an appropriate expansion according to the design guidelines. As you can see in the site plan, there's 52 feet of space between the existing rear facade of the structure and the rear property line. The applicant, if they wanted to do a similarly sized addition, could locate something like shown below. That's about the same size and square footage, maybe off by 1 or 2 square feet. This is something I drew. I'm not an artist or architect. But they could still meet their dual frontage setback requirements, retain the existing pool, and put an addition to the rear, which would be historically compatible. Are distinguishing the original qualities of the building being destroyed? Yes, because the front addition destroys the entire front of the structure. Like I said, some of the openings on the structure have been altered, but the general roof line and at least opening pattern is generally retained, and someone, because the original blueprints exist, could very easily bring this back to its original appearance. So to compare the existing front elevation and the proposed front elevation, the areas in red are alterations to the rhythm of solids to voids and the massing of the structure, essentially. Bringing forward the addition also creates a different rhythm of streetscape on the South Palmway side. Now, like I said, it's a dual frontage lot. However, South Palmway, according to the zoning code, is considered to be the primary front of any structures that have this dual frontage. So in the diagram there, you can see historically, usually you want an addition or new construction to, fit into the streetscape of the existing structures. Were the applicant to add on to the front of the structure, they would be exceeding this line. So there's a dotted red line there of the general rhythm of the streetscape by about 30 feet. And then the properties that are marked with stars, those are all of the contributing structures nearby. And you can see there's actually a property 2 doors down that has had a rear addition, and it does extend towards the back, which would be appropriate for this structure. So the proposal does meet all zoning requirements with the exception of the required flood elevation. So because the applicant is making a substantial alteration to the structure, they would be required to raise it to current flood elevation, which is 10 foot NAVD. That would be about a 2'5" difference. So the applicant has requested a flood elevation variance, which they are eligible for as a contributing structure. So that they can exempt both the existing building and the new construction from that requirement. However, the base requirement for that variance to be granted is that the proposed work essentially ensures the existing contributing status of the building. And if the proposed work precludes the building continued designation as a historic building contributing structure, the variance should not be granted. So we have sort of an interesting situation here where, yes, the applicant's proposal does meet the criteria for flood elevation variance in the sense that it's a historic structure and they should, make all efforts to not raise the existing historic structure to meet existing flood height, which would overall change the appearance pretty significantly. However, because the addition is on the front, it doesn't comply with the city's design guidelines or the Secretary of the Interior standards, and therefore they're not really eligible for it unless they redesign their proposal. So in conclusion, we are recommending denial of the proposed addition and the variance because it's not consistent with the city's land development regulation and the design guidelines for additions. Like I said, the proposed flood elevation variance is the minimum necessary for the applicant to feasibly add to the structure, but it doesn't retain the character defining feature of the structure. So we would strongly encourage the applicant to come back with a new proposal that is located on the rear of the structure, which would certainly be eligible for this variance, would likely be eligible for tax exemption, and would keep the contributing status of the structure. So these are some recommended motions. And if you have any questions, I'm here.
Is there, other than your recommendation to move it to the back, is there anything that could be done to change the design of the front that would be compatible, or is it really not anything that you can recommend for that?
I pretty much can't think of any situation in which I would recommend someone adding on to the front of a structure unless there was some universe in which there was no way to add to the rear. And even then I would be very cautious, I guess, for lack of a better term, because any change that they make to the front of that it really is creating a false sense of history, and it's not differentiated. You're essentially saying because there's an assumption in historic preservation that the front facade is your, primary character defining facade, not that, the other facades aren't.
Yeah. So it's not the look of the front, it's the fact that it is in the front. And like you said, creating a false sense of history that this is how it was looking.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even in a universe where they were to completely you know, reconstruct the front facade as it appeared originally, but 30 feet forward, well, that's still not the historic fabric of the building. So
I
that
think-
really is the defining.
Would that then render it non-contributing
I think so. You know,
and then losing all the value of being a contributing structure?
exactly.
But long before he owned that building, they already altered it. Long before he even came along. No, hold on a minute.
Yeah, but that.
No. You can't tell me.
I did though.
I saw for myself with the eyes verified.
Yeah, but we're talking about a whole new front
Yep.
rather than a window and a door. Now, was that previous alteration approved?
Yeah, that was
Yes.
approved by the board.
Okay, so that was approved.
They ripped down the walls of the front and flipped it. And the city was aware, they flipped it 18 inches forward.
He said that.
No, see, so what happened was the historical value went out the window when they changed the front. It was altered.
So
And I watched them do it. So I can't see the.
Let her finish.
when the board reviewed the previous application for the window replacements, they had to make, you know, a finding like you guys would that the window replacements are not destroying the historic character of the structure. You know, otherwise it wouldn't have been approvable. So that's why it retains its contributing status, because it went to the board, it was approved by the board, and to be completely honest, the board did go against staff's recommendation in that case. Staff did recommend, you know, keeping the original openings, because that is generally what's proposed. Obviously, this is a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But you know, it is something.
So are you saying if we it still retains its historical whatever if we overrule you?
So, you know, like in the example motion here, if you were to approve this, you would have to state reasons that this does not destroy the historic character of the building. So you essentially would have to find in your motion and your evidence that the applicant is making an effort to keep the contributing features of the structure.
So do we have the representative here?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from Mr. Blackman, the applicant, please.
Well, I want to finish. I'll finish my comments later on, but I want to finish my comments before you come up here. Not only that, he followed under the guidelines of a floodplain. Palmway is at 9.2. I'm talking about the island itself. And we got to get used to the idea. Change is coming. Because you don't want water going into anybody's house.
Right.
And the flood elevation now, based on FEMA status, all houses got to be at 12 or plus.
But they are eligible.
His house is at 9. I looked at it. So he's like 18 inches below.
So he did provide an elevation certificate. He's at 7.
So you can't deny him that. Can't deny him that. Well, I'm not gonna sit up here and get sued because water came to this guy's house and he's fighting for to get his house raised.
He's not fighting for get it raised. Yeah.
Okay.
You've got, it's the opposite of what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm saying tonight, based on Palmway elevation and based on what's going to go eventually come around us. That's up to him what he want to do, but it's bound to happen that we have to keep an open mind to let people raise the house unless it's a wooden structure, because wooden structures can be elevated.
But Ed, that's not what the issue is. The issue is they're saying he doesn't have to raise it. If we approve this, he won't have to raise it.
Yeah,
He'll be more likely to flood
Okay.
this way.
Is he happy with that? Okay. But
Nobody's happy with that.
I didn't realize that. So we can give a variance for somebody from the flood elevation simply because it's historic. Because is there any, is that the
Yeah.
only way we could grant a variance for someone from a flood elevation?
Yes, because it's only eligible for contributing structures, and only for contributing structures where essentially you're doing it because it's keeping the contributing status.
And we don't have to, we aren't the ones doing that. That's already written. Once it's historical, it automatically can be kept that way. Yeah.
Well, so it's not automatic. That's why they do
Oh,
have
that-
to apply for a variance.
Okay. But does that come before us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they don't have to build an addition or.
Right.
Yeah, we've heard these before, yeah.
Come on.
Mr. Blackman. The applicant, please.
Hi, Jeremy Hamlin, 714 South Palmway in Lake Worth Beach here. Proud business owner here since 2013. And we've been in our residence since 2019 in November. When I say we, it's myself and my two sons. When we first moved in there, they were a bit smaller. Now they're 10 and 13. Hence our efforts to stay in the house and stay in the community. The goal here is to build that extra front part of the home with an added bedroom, a little bit larger family room to move around and get all their sporting equipment and everything else in the garage. I have looked at the back as mentioned. There is restrictions when it comes to being able to build around the pool area, which really wasn't noted too much in the picture. And it does obstruct the opportunity to do what we're looking for in regards to adding that small amount of square footage towards the front of the house which would be the reason why and how we could stay in the house as boys get older. I have asked Mr. West Blackman to speak on my behalf in regards to the details and would also like to request a neighbor be heard in regards to an opinion as well. Thank you.
When you said a small addition, how many square feet is this?
It's a master bedroom.
It's about 690 square feet.
Okay.
And just to address one point in the applicant's, from a historic perspective, the interior layout and the pool don't necessarily come into our review because the pool is not historic and could be moved or altered, and the interior layout is not under the board's purview.
When they create a hardship, could price split based on the price of pools today?
So usually hardships aren't based on
Well, you're not
value.
putting out the $100,000. Go ahead.
Let's hear from Mr. Blackman.
Yes, hi. I'm Wes Blackman. I'm a certified urban planner. I was chairman of the board here for a while. Some of you might had the honor of serving up here. And periodically, cases come before me. This one, I did not make the application. I was brought in later when the owner started having issues. The architect wasn't 100% familiar with being in a historic district and so forth. So we met with staff before the August meeting, the scheduled meeting, and sat down, and immediately I was concerned about the wording of this particular request in the staff report. In order to have a new addition, which is actually what we're asking for, you do have to take something down in the building in order to make that new addition part of the building. So part and parcel of the new addition is demolition. So I just had an initial objection to using the word to demolish because there are other examples of demolitions in the area that, you know, I was concerned that that might raise the temperature of things a little bit. But anyway, we had a good meeting. And we also figured out that if this was going to be approved, the requirement would be, since it exceeds 50% of the value of the built part of the property, it would have to all come in conformance with the new BFE, which is 10 feet in the area, and the existing floor elevation is 7.5 feet. So if anyone is going to add on to this house, it would need a variance from that BFE requirement for a 10-foot base flood elevation. So there are practical matters that Mr. Hanlon identified related to the located pool, the floor plan of the house, and the fact that his utility area and generator and everything was in the northeast corner that really preclude him from considering going out unless he wants to get rid of the pool. And then why doesn't he just move? But he likes the house and he likes the neighborhood. So that's why we're here tonight. And I think there is a way to see through to a solution here. And that's why I'm here. So next picture. This is the revision. I hope you didn't see the previous staff report for the August meeting. I know you didn't have a quorum, but a staff report was put together and it showed a much higher roof line and all kinds of things. And we corrected that immediately. So the only thing before you tonight really is that new addition on the west side of the house. Next. And this is standing at the end of the driveway, probably displaying the sign for this meeting. And you can see how far back the house is set. I ride my bike out here all the time. And these houses, you don't even know they're there because they're all behind landscaping and they just kind of sneak in there. And it is a very deep, narrow lot. And it is a double frontage lot. And the setback here is 20 feet per the zoning in single family residential. So theoretically, a new house could be built 20 feet from the property line on the west side of the property. Next, please. And just to show you how invisible this is me taking a picture of the property from the media. So you can see you really have to look back in the property to see anything that would be added to the front of that house. Next, please. Now, what's interesting here, this comes from the designation report, which was made in October of 2000. And I think I was on the board at that time, and that was when it was approved as a historic district. And they had a consultant come in, and the determination was made that yes, this was a contributing structure because at that time it was 51 years old. It met the requirement of being at least 50 years old. And it was pretty much intact at the time. So with the windshield survey that the historic preservation person did, they said, okay, this is a contributing structure. And it's masonry vernacular. And one of the characteristics, the major characteristic of masonry vernacular is that it is very plain architecture. They were banging out these houses in order to meet post-war demand in the United States. And the character defining features of the building are a single-story design, which is being maintained, a hipped roof, which is being maintained with masonry construction. Those are the character defining features, and none of those are being changed in this case. Next. This is a portion of the designation map that is included in that report for South Palm Park that was done in October of 2000. And if you can see there, the 700 block between 7th Avenue South and 8th Avenue South, this is a mid-block property, so it's 714. It's the last shaded in property. There is your going to the right in the middle of the block. And that would have been before any alteration or anything. This is, again, October of 2000. And there are 3 contributing structures all in a row there. Because they were all—
I'm sorry, but I don't know which one we're looking at. Can somebody point?
Can you point?
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Why are some shaded and some not?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question. The shaded ones indicate contributing. And sometimes it can just be, you know, I feel like shading this structure in because I just like it. And that's sometimes the thought that goes in behind it. But the person is experienced and has a certification or a degree in historic preservation. So you take them at their word that, yeah, this looks like a contributing structure. It hasn't been altered from its original, and therefore it's contributing to the district. However, when they were doing this survey and establishing the district, they excluded all structures that were not older than 50 years. So now we're in 2025. So a house that was built, say, in 1955 suddenly was 50 years old in 2005, just 5 years after this designation report was made. So houses that could have been contributing in 2000 suddenly were eligible as the years went on. And there's an example of that. Next, please. This is one that is 726. And if you remember the map, there were 3 contributing structures in a row. And the first non-contributing structure that was not shaded in to the right is this one, that's 726. And it has a projection much like this house would have if the proposal was approved. And this is non-contributing. And this person is going to have a problem if they want to add on, because they will have to bring their house up to this 10-foot BFE area. So that's something you have to keep in mind for this entire area. And if you know someone who is in the market for houses, you should be informing them of this. Next. Okay, this is the property information for that particular house that is non-contributing, and it was built in 1955, and you can see the floor plan there, and clearly that follows the pattern more like what we are following. Is it a false sense of history? Maybe, that is debatable.
Is that how
But-
it was built in 1955?
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
built that way.
It was built that way
So,
in 1955.
That's how it was.
So
But I
just
don't
a
think that's
twist of
the issue.
fate, it could have been built in 1949. It's 6 years of difference. And the only reason it's not considered contributing when the district was formed is that it wasn't old enough, but now it is. So you're dealing with a lot of.
But that is how it was built then. It didn't
Yes.
change. And
No,
that's, I think,
And
what
it
the
could
city
have,
constantly.
this house that we're talking about here at 714 could have been like that,
But it wasn't.
but it wasn't. But
That's
I'm
why
saying
you have
it
an
could
issue
have
with
been.
it looking the way it is.
And that's why I'm
just
here at
saying
the
I
podium. I
disagree.
know.
I understand. Just explain the logic of what the
Yes.
city is, why they're, they're just
Right.
saying, you're changing something and it's not what it was back then, right?
But I'm saying that you also have to consider the needs of the owner of the property. And you have to balance everything out. And is this really the hill to die on? So that is your assessment that you have to make.
However, before the gentleman owns the house, no matter how do you describe substantiated? It's based on opinion. How you describe change from the original state, even if you alter just a window up front, it's been changed. That right there alone should hang it on the historical value, because the city, not him, the city allowed it to change. They allowed the window to change. They allowed the front of the building to change. You understand? You can't say
I know, but
it's
we can't go by the.
but we can't deny. We can't
We have to
deny.
look at what's allowed now. That's,
What-
that's our
what-
job.
But
That's all
our
I'm saying.
job is not just to lean on the city's, lean on the city's.
Go back to the map again.
Let him finish,
Uh,
yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
but-
I'd like to point something else out on the map too. The staff report makes it seem like all the houses and the presentation, all the houses in this area are set way far back from the street. And that isn't
It's not the
exactly the
case.
case, because if you look at the 800 block, the east side of the 800 block, which is just to the right there, those are all, much closer to the street. So the deep setback, we're still maintaining, even with the addition, almost 30 feet, 29 feet and some inches. So it's still going to be significantly set back from the street. And you would have a hard time, as indicated by the pictures before, to even know that that addition was doing that. So if you approve it tonight, what you do is you make a family happy. And you do not allow for the increase in height that would result by raising the entire structure, let alone the economic and financial impact of doing that. If you don't give a variance, because someone, if they want to add on to this house, would need to do that and get a variance if it was in the back or the. With all due respect, if we're just in the business of making everybody happy, it would be very easy, but that's really not the cogent criteria we need to go with. Should be a consideration. And living in a historic district comes with pluses and minuses. And this is an instance where you can use your judgment and apply the rule of the law, and I think there's a path forward.
So I still have a question.
Okay.
Because could you possibly kind of summarize the math here for me? Because it's only a 590 square foot addition, and the threshold of the flood elevation is half the value of the existing property. Is that how that works?
It's half the value of the taxable value of the improvements on the property. And that is about 190,000. Did we figure that out? Or
Yeah, so we calculated this when we met in August. Essentially the way that the building code
what I was
defines improvement value is, like Wes was saying, 50% of the improvement value of the structure. So that's not the land value, that's just the value of the structure itself. And let me
We got that all.
do quick math, I can tell you what the exact amount is.
It's pretty easy to get above that 50%.
Yeah, so
Is it 50% of the improvement value or 50% of the improved value?
improvement value. So the preliminary data for 2025 is 200,000, 199,749. So we'll call it 200,000. If you put half that, so $100,000 worth of work
Would be
into
their
the
limit.
property, you
Okay.
do need to meet current building code, which includes flood elevation.
and that means raising the entire structure.
No, that would be, you wouldn't have to raise it if you were within that, underneath that
Yeah.
threshold.
Yeah, but in
It's
this
not gonna
case,
happen.
This addition.
Okay.
That's the summary of what I'm saying, and I believe there's something on these.
Mr. Blackman, do you have a copy of that for staff?
Yeah, right. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, what is going to, I mean,
We have somebody else.
Oh, yeah, we have another.
okay.
Hello, Anthony Segrich, 601 South Palm Way. I'm here as a resident and a neighbor, not in any official capacity. I live right down the road from this project and I am in full support of it, as are many of my neighbors. Because of the flood elevation, this homeowner could simply ask that he wants to raise the elevation and he can demolish his whole structure.
There you go.
And this is happening all over South Palm Park. We are losing historic structure after historic structure because of this loophole. He is making every effort to raise his family in this property and maintain the historic character and quality of the building. He's maintaining the front facade and its character and quality. And those two words are very important in terms of what you guys have to uphold, character and quality. Our historic district is not defined based on individual properties. The historic district of South Palm Park is defined by the diversity of architectural styles and the variations therein, not particular properties. So it's actually doing an injustice to our historic district to narrowly define the scope of this to the neighboring three properties. Staff brings up rhythm. If you extend your vision past the neighboring three properties, you will see that there is no rhythm in terms of setback. Some houses are 50 foot back, some are 20, some are all the way on the rear end of the property line, 2 foot off the rear property line. That is the rhythm of South Palm Park, not houses all in a row as staff is suggesting. Keying on what some of you have noted, previous alterations have already changed the front setback. And if we are to believe what staff is saying, changing the front setback destroys the character and quality. Therefore, by staff's own argument, this property is no longer historic contributing. Now they say that's not the case because the board allowed it. So applying that same logic, if you allow this change, it shall remain historic and contributing. They can't have it both ways. It was remained historic contributing before, but now it's not just because you're changing the front facade and setback. It's a contradiction. The character and qualities of this building, and as defined by the Secretary of the Interior, do not mention setback. Historic districts have to follow the definition that the Secretary of Interior provides, not staff opinion. If you look at the definition for this architectural style, it does not mention setback at all. Therefore, setback cannot be considered a character or quality of this architectural style. If you took this house and moved it forward 10 feet, exactly the same, would it not remain historic? The answer is yes. The character and quality will remain. As it was pointed out, the front facade has already been changed. It's been changed several times. And the changes that are proposed are consistent with this architectural style. You have a garage on the left, an entrance in the middle, and some sort of windowed structure on the right. And if you look at the other ones in the neighborhood, some of them jut out like this proposed, some of them are flush, some of them are somewhat flush, some are even set back. So, I would just leave you with that you really cannot define the character and quality by setback alone. You have to look at what makes this architecture what it is. And this design proposal is consistent with that. And then I would look at it from another perspective. Our city has lost family after family because of some of the restrictions and the difficulties we have placed on them. We have a business owner, a young family, wanting to stay in our neighborhood, wanting to invest in this property and keep it in looking with historic. Because believe me, it would be a lot easier to knock this thing down and build it new. A heck of a lot cheaper. And the property value would be a heck of a lot greater. So I would urge you to understand that, staff's opinion is staff's opinion. It's not always correct. That's why we have you guys as a board. And I would love for you guys to just examine historic quality and character and ask staff for the definition of that architectural style from the design guidelines and from the Secretary of Interior. See if it mentions anything about front setback. I don't think you'll find it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just ask the staff, is it possible to knock it down and build it new? I mean, is that even feasible?
Yeah, so one point of clarification to the commissioner's comment. Because this is a contributing structure, it is not eligible for demolition without board review. So that is something that, contributing structures can't be demolished unless they're usually condemned. So that would be an application that would be heard by the board, and it is something that obviously staff would not approve demolition of this structure as well, because it is contributing.
And my second question is, what does determine whether a property is contributing or not? Because I mean, I know that some points were mentioned on, how that works. If you could just clarify that process a little bit.
Yeah, sure. I think Mr. Blackman gave a brief detail on, how the original windshield survey is done. So yes, when a historic district is established, usually either a consultant or staff will go out and look at all the structures in a defined area. And usually based on, knowledge of architectural history, building permit records, things like that. Typically, structures that are 50 years old or older at the time of the survey. So, as Mr. Blackman said, this particular district was established in 2000. So, at that point, 1950 was the cutoff. If it was established today in 2025, 1975 would be the cutoff. So, the surveyor, whoever they were, usually has a background in architectural history and historic preservation, and goes out and looks at each structure and says, well, these are the structures that are 50 years old or older. That's a good baseline starting point for what's contributing. And then beyond that, they look at, well, have they been, irreparably altered, to the point where they no longer have their character defining features? Are they an example of this architectural style? And what usually goes into that is what we're outlining in the staff report here. So At that point, when that decision was made, they determined for this particular structure that the, front porch enclosure and the change of the window and door locations, that was not an alteration that precluded its contributing status because it did retain its original form, massing, you from a base level, could the original owner, look at this house today and would they recognize it and say, that's my house? That's, to a lay person, I think a way to describe what a person creating a survey of a district would be looking for. And then, once a district is formed, that's something that the list of structures that are contributing and non-contributing are entered into the ordinance for the creation of the district. And then that remains. So structures that were surveyed to be contributing are contributing. Structures that are surveyed to be non-contributing are non-contributing. In the recent past, I think you're probably mostly aware that the city has done a survey more recently of historic districts that would, change the contributing status of some structures that may have been altered, and also add structures that did not meet that threshold, at the time of the designation. So if the new survey of South Palm Park were ever to be adopted, that house next door at 726 South Palm Way, it would actually be considered to be contributing at this point because it was recommended for contributing status. So, in short, it's essentially a lot of the standards that you're reviewing this application on. Has it been altered beyond, feasible recognition? Does it retain the features of the original historic structure, things like that?
Is there like an appeal process when that's done as to like, I don't want to be historic or, is like, or, can it be appealed one way or the other? Like I want my house to be historic or I don't want my house to be historic.
So yeah, that's part of the original designation process. It's not something where, because the surveyor that does this is considered to be essentially an expert in this. Usually, you can't opt out of being a historic district. 25 years ago when this district was established, I imagine that if a homeowner, wanted to be considered non-contributing and were to bring significant evidence, and I say significant evidence that say the city wasn't aware of, to say, well, this has been altered, I think that could change at the time of designation, maybe whether something was contributing or non-contributing, but it's not necessarily something where a property owner elects to be contributing or non-contributing. In an initial survey, because historic preservation, as a small background, is similar to zoning, it's a police power. So it's something that the city actually essentially creates zoning districts, creates historic districts. The city has the power to say, based on evidence and based on, professional knowledge, this is not an arbitrary decision, but, it is ultimately a decision on the part of the original surveyor what is and is not contributing and not contributing. And then the individual property owner obviously has the ability to, when a district is being formed, participate in the public process as part of that, come out to meetings and speak. Historic districts are formed based on a great deal of public input, and, whoever the property owner was when this was established to be contributing did have the opportunity, to be aware that this was becoming part of a historic district, was considered to be contributing. So, it's not something that they or subsequent owners should have, I guess, been surprised by. If that answers your question.
Yeah, and I have another one. I'm really, it feels like a catch-22 to me about the flood situation and and the whole thing that we could, by us overriding you, we can still keep this be contributing. That doesn't make sense to me, but
So in a sense, it is a catch-22 because that variance, you essentially, I think we had the variance training recently where it was discussed that you need certain standards that you need to meet to approve a variance. Well, this at a base level, based on staff recommendation, doesn't meet the criteria to grant this variance because the addition doesn't retain the contributing status. In order for you as a board to move to approve both the addition, frankly, and the BFE variance, you need to, as outlined in the staff report, the various standards that the applicant needs to meet in terms of, well, they need to, meet the fenestration patterns, the massing, the et cetera, all the things that are considered to be contributing to the structure. You would need to find as a board that the applicant is not making substantial alterations to that as part of this addition, and they are still retaining the character defining features of the structure, and therefore it's still eligible to be contributing. I can't give you an outline of how you would do that because obviously my recommendation is in the staff report, but you are all professionals as well. If you have a differing opinion, as far as, whether or not this meets contributing status, you're empowered as a board to bring that up.
Now, if you were in a house that was not contributing, what's your situation regarding flood and elevations?
So in that instance, you are not eligible for this variance.
So if you're going to put more than 50% in, you have to raise up your whole house.
Yes.
So that really traps that area.
For non-contributing structures, yes.
Well, kind
So
of.
the contributing structures are actually better off
Yeah,
If you
in
wanna
that
be in a
way,
flood
in that sense, if you're in a flood zone, right?
you have more flexibility.
You don't mind.
You have more
getting flooded.
flexibility when you add an addition that you can get this variance.
And it's really up to the individual property owner as far
Right.
as, the changes that they're making and how much of a flood risk they want to accept.
Right. But that's kind of why I asked my very first question when we first came to this is there something architecturally that could be done to allow us to say this does meet the character of the original property? And I think the most compelling comment that you made was if you picked this house up and moved it 10 feet forward, and maybe then, like hypothetically, you would have room to put the addition in the back then, right? Would that be okay? Like that, like probably would, because it would look exactly the same, except that it is 10 feet forward. So my question is there any way to make this front addition work so that it looks the same? I know it's not technically the same, but you kept mentioning that is our criteria based on the distance, how far it is from the front, or is it based on how it looks, right? Like what criteria should we be judging?
Strictly speaking, it's actually on the historic fabric of the material. A lot of the time, this is more of a struggle with, these masonry vernacular structures because, yeah, they're built with, they're not built with the kind of materials that say a 1920s house is. It's not necessarily what people consider to be architecturally valuable.
Pretty basic.
But at the same time, the historic nature of the property is based on that material being 50 years old or older. I understand that again a cement block or concrete block house, the architectural material itself may not look like it has really that much value. I really do see the struggle that people sometimes have with that, but at the same time it is considered to be the actual age of the material itself that is giving this its contributing status. If for some reason this house were, we wouldn't allow anyone to demolish it, but if in the past, before this was designated, say someone had, taken this house in 1960 and torn it down and rebuilt it exactly the same, well, it still wouldn't be considered eligible to be contributing because the actual material itself would be not from the date of construction of the 1950s.
Is the concrete block out, right?
Yeah.
Is the concrete block out?
And
Right.
yes,
Is the concrete block today, the concrete block 30 years ago?
And that's why I'm saying it,
What he was just saying.
yeah, but at the same time, we know that this concrete block is from 1950 as opposed to today. More than that, you know, you as a board could theoretically review an application to move the structure and put an addition to the back. You know, it is something that would require board review to move the structure.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting to do that. I was just hypothetically thinking in my mind, you know, like, is it the look of it that is concerning, or is it the fact that it's moving, that the setback is different?
Well, so it's not necessarily an issue of the setback itself because
Okay,
obviously
that's what I was feeling like, right? It's not necessarily the setback, but it's the way it's going to look when you do an addition. And no matter what, we do have different materials nowadays, right? When we build. So no matter how hard you try to make it look like the way it was back then, which I think they've tried to do architecturally, as
They're
Wes said.
supposed to. They actually, one of the issues was that it looks like from back then, and it doesn't. I wrote down they don't have a differentiation.
Yes,
because it's supposed to look different, like you added it on in 2025, not from back then.
in a sense, this is actually trying to do a little bit of both in the sense that, you know, they're changing windows, they're changing door patterns, they're putting a much larger door. Well, so that doesn't look like it originally did. At the same time, it's not like, you know, usually in addition, we would want someone to inset an addition so you can tell that, well, there's a jog in the building structure. We would want a different roof line. We would want something to show that it's different and for it to also not be on the front of the structure because we'd want that front of the structure to be the same. So, you know, at the end of the day, it needs to both be differentiated and retain the original character defining features and materials, not reconstruct them, in order to be considered an appropriate addition that retains the contributing status.
Can our architect provide any insight into this?
That's a really difficult thing to do. Okay, and you know, in years past, you know, because I've been in this business a really long time, and in years past, it was kind of more popular or considered to be more acceptable to have in addition to a historic structure where you could really see the difference, like the addition was in it completely, like you'd have a historic structure and build the addition like it's completely out of glass or something. And a lot of projects were done that way in the 60s and 70s. But now it's more popular to kind of try to sort of blend with the style. And it's just a matter of interpretation. But either way, it's a very tricky thing to do because how are you, you know, it's very subjective. How are you compatible, but you're not really blending in? You know, where do you see the difference? I mean, when you see an addition on a historic building, can you immediately go, oh, there's the original? Maybe I can because I'm an architect and I do this, right? But can other people, you know, look at it? It's in addition to a historic building and really see, well, that's the original and that's an addition there, but yet it still is compatible because like we see a lot of additions where the addition is actually in the same style as the original structure, and we judge that favorably most of the time. But that's really tricky thing to do.
How often are you seeing additions in front of the house? In front of a house, like they're proposing?
Well, that doesn't really matter.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, can you really not do something acceptable in the back? Yeah, well, I don't know how you have to answer,
Yeah,
but
you have to state your name.
Yeah.
just so she knows.
Jeremy Hanlon, 714 South Palmway. No, I can't do anything about it.
Why? Can you be a little more? Yeah.
Well, the removing the pool.
Well, without removing the pool.
Without moving the pool doesn't allow the opportunity to build because I cannot go close to the pool with anything being built.
What about the drawing that they showed us that had a shaded spot there where you could have, like, is that a feasible I mean, I know it's just a drawing, but what are the reasons why that could not be done? Yeah,
Well,
that red part, why could that not be done?
that falls in line with the economic aspects of the pool. You know, everything back there in regards to the utilities and.
No, it's a matter of cost because you'd have to move that pool equipment, right?
Yeah, that
Okay,
that
so
would
it's
be,
just a cost matter, really.
yeah,
Okay.
it's exorbitant cost matter.
To move pool materials?
To,
Really?
no, to move the pool equipment, like, do you know, have you ever costed it out just so we
Is
can,
that
you know,
expensive to
like,
move a pool?
I'm sure this renovation is
Not moving the
quite
pool
costly.
equipment.
May
Yeah,
I
I
have
bet.
someone else to?
John Tobany,
I don't
Chateau Homes. You need my address? 4329 Hamilton Drive, Lakewood. 33467. So in reference to the addition on the back, in this particular property, his utilities come in from Lake Ave, and they come right through where you see that the boldest part of the red. So his water line, sewer line, and gas line all comes through there. And his sewer line actually comes from the northeast corner on a diagonal to the middle of the house. So it's cutting kitty corner across that entire thing. If you can see what I'm saying.
Does that mean, I mean, I'm not an architect,
Well,
I'm an attorney, but does that mean that?
You would have to,
can't
you would
build
have to you would have to somehow, and to reroute it would be almost impossible. You would have to have a new sewer tap put in down Lake Avenue towards the south side. So you could come in there and miss all that stuff. Because if not, there's no way to get your fall, because remember, it's gravity feed. So there's no way to get your fall back to Lake Avenue and put all these curbs into the main sewer line.
So you're saying it's not just a cost issue then?
It's not really feasible to do what you're saying.
And what are your credentials? I'm
I'm
sorry.
a builder.
You're a builder, okay. Are you the builder for this project?
I am.
Oh,
I don't have the knowledge to know if that's, you know, something feasible.
Well,
Judgment.
in all the houses down through this, every house is typical, right? So all the utilities come in from the Lake Ave side into the back of those houses. So it affects everybody the same way. Like I said, there's water, sewer, and gas all come in right through that area right there that's bolded in red.
And just to be clear, this is just a suggestion.
Mhm.
I think there are opportunities to be creative. Obviously with the constraint of the existing pool, but I think part of the answer here may be the pool, which is not historic, you know, may not be a hardship in this instance.
I mean, not like moving the pool.
Yes.
I mean, this to me is like a really, we're talking about this house, but it also really has huge like ramifications for that whole street.
That side of the street.
Yeah. As to what people can do.
Don't we just look at everything individually? Like, we always have homeowners say, well, so-and-so next to me is doing it, and we always have to just push back and say, I'm
Everyone's
sorry,
different.
but we have to look at your unique property. You know, just because everybody else did something, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but the things that are going to be common are you're in a flood zone. And what can you do? And where are if you're saying everybody's
The sewer line.
utility, yeah, if everything's going to be this, so it's not going to be, maybe what's unique about this one is it's far back and you can't see it. You know, it's got a lot of, vegetation and landscaping in front of it. So we're kind of hiding it as opposed to if it was something really close and it's going to be right in our faces. But all these other issues are going to be true for everybody on that street.
The other property where they also was with the pool was in the back and there was something in front and.
And just one point on the vegetation and landscaping, generally, when we consider something to be visible from the street, we don't take into account landscaping on the site. Obviously, yes, this is less visible because they do have nice, lush, mature landscaping in the front. That being said, that could be gone in 10 years. And then that's no longer a mitigating factor, or 5 years, or, tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
don't know if there's anything that any of you can recommend, a way around this for us to try to resolve this in a positive way for the owner, but I can see that it's probably is very costly to do that, but if it's only cost and not, impossible, I don't know how much that cost is. I don't know what we're looking at.
I mean, I think even given that we know that there's a rear addition that's been made to this structure, there is room to maybe even go further back in terms of, altering the portion of the structure that exists, or doing, something, for reference. I'm not an architect, so I can only speak to, as far as other applications that we see, but, this bedroom, this sitting room aren't original parts of the building. If those were to be altered or changed or expanded, that's not necessarily as big of an issue as changing the front, because, another point that I think maybe I haven't touched on is reversibility. As far as additions, another thing that, ideally, if you're making an alteration to a contributing structure, it needs to be reversible. And this, once you've taken this wall down, once you've added onto the front, this is not something that someone's going to be able to reverse. I think, something in the back where there's already been some alterations and additions, is ultimately more reversible. But, I can't design it for the applicant, but I can say that I think that they could present an alternate that at least, preserves that front facade, while still allowing them, obviously, to make expansions to the structure, because that's certainly not something that we're opposed to.
Would there be something done a little bit at the front and a little bit at the back, or is that not gonna work either?
A little bit in the front is still gonna change.
Mr. Blackman again, this does not pertain to this particular application, although it does because it pertains to the area. But I just want to let you know that this is an issue in this area particularly, and especially with non-contributing properties. I have a person who would like to add a second floor to a non-contributing property. Oh, well, you can probably do that. Well, if they do that, then they have to meet the flood elevation requirement. And then that makes it prohibitively expensive and they can't do the project. However, they can if they are a contributing structure. But if they add a second story to a single story house, then they're not going to be consistent with being a contributing structure. So they could come in because the survey is outdated now, and there have been resurveys of the area. And quite frankly, the city is very scared to open up the district because they may have people who own property that say, well, I don't want to be contributing. I like people to better be non-contributing,
right?
Because they're less. So no one wants to open that door. And the whole northeastern part of College Park has been surveyed and there are historic resources there, but no one has the to make that a district because it's politically unpopular. So that area has really boomed in the marketplace because you can do
tear
whatever
down.
you want there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a big sidebar.
I mean, that is concerning to me that if we make this so onerous, I mean, can somebody do away with being a historic
I think
district?
we're making anything right now onerous. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, if you clearly have a decision on this, propose it. I feel very.
These are not the city's regulations for base flood elevation. This is FEMA. This is
Right.
coming down from on
Right.
high from the federal level. And if you're not in a historic district, you're held to the same standards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just the non-contributing, it's anyone who's not a contributing structure. So if you're outside of a historic district, you're in the same tough spot.
We bought a piece of property and then backed out of it and then went back in and then backed out again because I do not want to. We were going to tear it down. It was not an historic district just because who wants to spend all that money on a house that's going to be potentially in a flood zone?
Yeah. And that's that base flood
Ah.
elevation is such a big deal.
Yeah.
That BFE variance, this is the only time that FEMA allows someone to get a variance from that. Is if it's a contributing structure. That's the only time ever. Not just in historic
That's
ever.
not being Contributing, because you can get that variance, but.
If you don't mind living in a flood zone.
Comply with the historic guidelines
Mhm.
and
Unless you
satisfy
want to tear
that.
it down and build a new
Right.
house, then you're better off.
Yeah.
being
So I
done.
mean, yeah.
So that's the, it's a tough thing kind of citywide, anywhere that you're in a flood
Yeah.
zone, it's. Yeah, kind of a host of trade-offs.
Yeah.
All right. Is it
I
city
mean,
lot
I
or
don't
the
know.
building? There it is. Like, there it is.
Has friends watching at home. They're gone.
Okay.
So how do we proceed?
So what do
You're-
we-
you're there.
Emergency power then?
I guess
We
must be.
continue?
Yes, must be.
Okay, we can continue.
All right, so here's my problem. And by the way, we do get a packet that has a lot of information in it that isn't necessarily presented here, including all the defining qualities of each of the
Structures.
Architectural features of what we're discussing. So we do get all that. The staff provides a lot of information. And I'm looking at page 210 of the Historic Preservation Design Guidelines. And this is my problem because it says, it's talking about new additions to historic buildings. Constructing a new addition, there is the least possible loss of historic materials, and that character defining features are not obscured, damaged, or destroyed. Recommended to locate the new exterior addition at the rear or an inconspicuous side of a historic building. Designing new additions in a manner that makes it clear what's historic and what's new, while size, scale, detailing, and materials, and Elaine alluded to that. Identifying, retaining, preserving those features that define the overall historic character of the building, such as walls, brackets, railings, cornices, window architraves, protecting and maintaining masonry. I mean, there's even using the gentlest cleaning methods, such as low pressure water and detergent, using natural Brussels. This is all about maintaining the historic structure, maintaining the facade, maintaining the building, maintaining all of that historic stuff, and putting a new addition in the front doesn't do that. And that's really my, I mean, I get everything else, but that's really my problem with this. And, you know, I wish there was another way to look at it, but apparently there isn't. It's either we do this or we can't do anything at all. And that's all I had to say on that.
Think of, like, remember that situation we had and Ed came up with the idea, somebody wanted. The door isn't in the front, although it's their front door, it actually, you access it this way. So we kind of finagled around that.
Now, how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but I can't figure a finagling for this.
No, the problem is we have to come up with reasons why.
Yeah,
it
we're gonna
would
ignore
work.
all this.
And we have to, right, that's, you know.
My reason.
The, like,
Those are guidelines.
yeah,
Yeah, but my reason,
there's nothing really about the flood thing, that's. I mean,
no, forget about the flood thing, that's the
Right.
main point. My reason is you can't have it both ways. Either it was altered or it wasn't. Altered mean change. Altered means you somehow altered the historical value of the home when you changed the front of the building the first time, which they
It
did.
did change.
In which they did.
What did
But
change there?
They really extended that building 18 inches out from the original state.
So we don't have any
so right off the
records of
bat,
that.
Right off the bat, that devastated the historic.
They took the whole wall down.
They took it all down, they put it back. I watched
All
them do
right,
it.
Ed, when we're looking at this, Mr. Yeah, DeVoe,
Yeah,
go back a picture, show the front facade, please.
go back to the original.
Okay, so go back to the original
The original.
and then, no, okay, there. Now go to the photo with a gray one, like go forward like you were.
Take a
Okay,
look
so
at it.
there that
There it is.
little porch in front of the door.
No,
Now go one more.
go one more.
That's what he's saying. They opened the porch a little bit
Look where that-
around the door is what he's saying.
So no, that porch is actually existent in that photo. I think the reason that it's reading a little bit different is that window sill has been dropped and expanded, but you can see the post is there in both pictures.
Okay.
So there's
That didn't really move.
No.
no.
Okay.
That whole wall come down? Yeah.
From here, the door, here to here, the other side. They pulled it out. Cause they had cracks in the wall.
Jeremy Hanlon, 714 South Palmway. If you go back to the original drawing, the door is on the opposite side.
We know that.
They moved
yeah.
completely the
Yes.
other side. They took out the porch, which was existing, and then moved the window.
What year did that happen?
1966, so it was taken into account when this was designated contributing.
Okay.
Oh, so this was designated contributing after that was done, because that was done in 1966.
Yes, the
So we're-
only alterations that we've discussed that took place after it was designated contributing was those window alterations that was approved by the board in 2017.
Oh.
2014 and 2017.
2017, the window alterations,
Yes.
and that was
1999.
approved. That was not an issue that it was, okay.
To get a bathroom.
But the alteration,
Should Nadine take over his chair while you're gone?
They gave you.
Yeah, okay.
but the alteration was made. You agree with that?
There was an alteration made in if this is what you're referring to, in 1966, the front porch was altered by bringing the front wall forward. That again was taken into account when this was designated contributing in 2000.
Okay.
At that point, this was an old enough change that probably it was it wouldn't have been considered to have gained significance because it wasn't 50 years old or older, but the person that did the survey in reviewing this probably said that it wasn't a significant change and could be reversed in the future,
Yeah, but-
which it still could be.
But if you went back to 1966, it is at 26, right? They're 25. Right?
Almost 26.
Almost 20. My point is, it's not 50 years old from the change.
Well, 1966 was
Right.
over 50 years ago.
You do know it was 1966.
That's more than
Right?
50 years.
That's more than 50 years, yeah. That's more than 50 years. So you designated, when you designated, you designated this in 2000, right?
2000, and they took this into account as part of the designation. They reviewed that this had occurred and said that it did not significantly change the character defining features of the structure, and therefore they wouldn't have named this a contributing structure if they weren't considering this alteration to destroy character defining features. Because, and I think speculating, we don't have record of this, they probably looked at this as reversible.
They looked at it as reversible.
Reversible. So yes, theoretically, someone could move that wall back if they wanted to. Not that we'd require someone to, but they could do it.
Oh, Wes, I have a lot of respect for your opinion, and I knew you were sitting up here. So can you provide us some compromise or some way to get around this?
Thank you, Wes Blackman, for the record, and see if I can help here. Maybe you can focus on the details of the design. I did point out that there, back in 2000, just because of the age of the structure at 726, that was considered non-contributing. But if it were today, it would be contributing. We all agree about that. So, unfortunately, that's how squishy this whole topic can be. Because time has evolved, and then you have the individual opinion who's looking at, all these resources that they drive by in their car. But that decision, whether it's contributing or not contributing, really has lasting implications. And what might seem just like a check mark on a list goes a long way to determine the ultimate disposition of the property. So what I would do is say that there is precedent in the area for a similar floor plan. And that houses are not all set back 50 feet. Setback in this zoning district is 20 feet.
I think the setback's the issue.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
Helping you build the case here.
No, but.
So-
That part doesn't help.
Let me finish.
Doesn't involve the setback.
Yeah, and the big one I'm getting to is look at the design features of the front of the house. And if you think they're too modern, you want to pull it back in, I think that would be something that the owner would consider and maybe make a little more modest expression on the west to look more historic. We might have to grin a little bit. But you know, in essence, we're keeping the historic flavor of this building. This is one of many. This is in the mid-block. It's not a large property. Like I said, I ride my bike by it all the time and I didn't even know it was here.
So if you all want to find a way to approve this application, you have to go through the criteria that are in the staff report and find out where the staff has said it does not meet the criteria. You have to find a reason that it does meet the criteria.
Yeah.
Put that on the record for each one of those things.
Right. And so if we were to.
Start with that, we're looking at, where is the first one? The first one is the first one on page, what page is the first one on? I think it's these are not numbered, these pages.
Page 6.
Oh, yeah, page 6, right? A, B, and C, all of those? Right. So we've got A and the staff said no. We've got B. B was yes, so B was okay, right?
Mhm.
C,
No.
Well,
what
no,
are you
so-
looking at?
B is sort of a double
Page
negative in the
6?
sense that
Page-
B, you would need to actually find no, that the distinguishing
Oh,
character of
right.
the building
Okay,
was
so
not
we-
being altered.
so far we have to look at A, we have to look at B. Is every one of these that the staff are saying is an issue?
Yeah.
Every single one of these, right?
D isn't an issue because it doesn't apply.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah, A,
Okay.
B, and C are all.
So D is not an issue, you're saying? D is not, but C is. Okay, so A, B, C. Is that it?
See the.
Then there's more.
Yeah.
Then
You
there's,
Have the additional criteria.
Okay. Can we rule on D as it met the requirements?
No, because it needs to meet all of them. It's not just.
every single one. So let's identify how many. We've got A, B, and C. And then we have, I don't see anything else after D. Then there are numbers.
Yeah,
So-
then on page 7, it starts a new section of criteria.
The new section.
1 through
Okay.
14.
Okay, so we've got 16 issues that the staff say are right? 17 issues that we have to find a reason for every single one on why we believe that it could work, every single one. And that's the problem, is that, I mean, there's just so many reasons why, and for us to even, like it might take us, a month to figure this out. So I don't know if we can resolve that now or if we
On the table list?
need to make a decision.
Let me make a suggestion. Like I said at the beginning, West Blackman again. I was brought in after the original application was made and I did not provide answers to each one of those criteria. I was brought in after the staff report was basically in
Yeah.
the oven.
Right.
It came out and then we had the meeting with staff.
Right.
If you want, you can table this and I can address each one of those issues with a view to how they would need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Stretching the envelope too much in order to approve it.
Yes.
Would that be something the city would consider, that they come back with a different proposal?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, they would need to come back with a fully new proposal. For our suggestions to change. And I would just say, in response to what Mr. Blackman is saying, we're not looking to stretch the envelope here. We're looking to approve this based on the standards that are.
Yeah, we have to go by the standards, right? So,
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in you taking your time to refute the staff's recommendations. I would like for you to come back with a new plan. That does not include destroying the front of the house. Now, if that's not feasible, that's not feasible, but I imagine there's got to be some way that the applicant can enjoy some part of their backyard for an addition. Maybe they don't have everything they want, but maybe they just have a bedroom in the back, an extra bedroom. I don't know, but to spend your time to come back and refute everything that they're saying is 16 or 17 items. I don't think it's a very good use of your time, with all due respect, and I do respect you.
Well, I'd rather stop right now. Do we continue table this?
I like to make a motion to table this
Okay,
and to let them come back.
I'll read the case number. Yeah. Like cable case number.
Okay, I got it on top here. Let me see. Case number Hrpb, project number 25-00100175. I'd like to table this to our next meeting so they can work with staff and work out some kind of solution.
Okay, so table it to the October meeting.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Okay, I got a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimous.
Now, for the applicant's knowledge, is there any direction that the board would like the applicant to adjust their proposal in terms of working with staff? Is there any direction that the board can give to them?
Let me pull something out of the hat real quick. There are problems on Lakeside that a lot of people are not aware of. And sometimes there got to be some kind of leadway to allow people to extend. So if we could find a way for him to extend that out on Palmway, Lakeside has its own problems alone, and I'm pretty sure the city knows what it is. And I don't go on record with it. But if we can find somehow to work with him with all those variants that he got to go through, let's see what we can do. This only a tip of the iceberg, was like we said, that's going to happen on Palmway and Lakeside. This area right here, and there's contributing structure, there's not contributing structure, and we're going to. FEMA have changed the road map. The city has to adjust, and when the board's going to have to adjust also. So if we can work out something, bring it back to us.
I mean, you can see the issues we're having. We're trying to we're trying to do our jobs, and we're trying to help you. So whatever you can figure out.
And that pool again, I'm gonna bring up that pool. Pool that's not so good costs you about $60,000 to $80,000. Now, how can you sit here and tell that man this is not a hardship?
Is hardship a criteria that we can consider in this?
That's $100,000.
I don't think we're talking about.
Pool is not part of the historic guidelines.
Saw this till
I know.
You're right.
I just want you to know.
Yeah.
You made motion table, we got table it.
That's all right. Do we have any other public comment other than the cases that were in front of us?
But hold on a minute. We tabled something when the meeting first started about the minutes. Remember that? We didn't approve the minutes. We didn't approve the minutes.
There isn't any.
The minutes from the previous meeting.
No.
Yeah.
You get moved over from the previous agenda into.
Yeah.
So we're okay.
But I want to say something about those minutes.
No.
You have to wait until they come next time.
Okay.
They're not in the packet.
Right.
Okay. All right. Yep.
Any planning issues? No.
We don't have planning issues. We do have department reports.
You can go there.
All right. So we will fly through a board notice. So we've got official notice to you all for condemnation and potential future demolition of 2 detached accessory structures. One of them is at 218 South K Street. The other is at 216 South L Street. Both are part of contributing resources. So we've got those 2 quick location maps. This is the first one. The principal structure at this property is 1938, frame vernacular. The garage was constructed at the same time. You can see that there's structural concerns that led to the condemnation. Similar situation at 216 South L Street. The principal and this accessory structure were circa 1925. Again, for both of these, it's just the accessory structures that are condemned, not the principal. So back in August, the building official visited and declared both of them unsafe per our code. For structures that are contributing but are not on the National Register, we do not require a COA for their demolition, but you all need to be notified and given an opportunity to comment. So this is your notification.
Okay.
Our other department report. So we brought the summer LDRs to you a few months ago now, our big packet of changes. So that is going to be going for first reading to the City Commission on next week, next Tuesday. You will see if you're attending or watching at home that there have been a couple changes made to that. So Senate Bill 180 came through this last legislative session, and part of that bill was saying that municipalities cannot make any changes to their LDRs that would be considered more onerous or burdensome or restrictive for development until October 1st of 2027. So what we had to remove from our summer LDRs was we had proposed some changes to additional zoning districts where integrated fuel generators would not be allowed. We aren't allowed to change that anymore. The biggest thing that we are not allowed to change anymore is our 25% parking reduction. It will not be going to 15%. That would be considered more burdensome for developers. So we have to put any changes to that on hold until October of 2027. Because we are not trying to get sued. So we were proposing to make the reduction smaller, so they would have had to provide more parking, which is harder for them to do. But it has to be not more burdensome to the developer.
Why is more parking harder?
It is harder to provide on a site.
Yeah, you gotta.
All right.
Yeah. So just a heads up. So if you were watching that, you weren't like, wait a minute, that's not what I approved. That's why.
Okay, got it.
All right.
I do have one thing.
I have one thing before you though.
Okay, good.
How's that?
Go ahead.
Board members, did we hear anything from commission, anything yet? Do we have more board members?
That's what I was going to ask. Amazing.
We're psychic, girl.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, we had a city commissioner here. I was going to bring it up if it came up, but he already left.
You want to leave?
It's the fact that if you get sick and you're the thing, somebody's on vacay, we need 2 or 3 more people here. I don't need her, Sherry calling me going, I don't know if we have a quorum, and it's not
Sherry can call
good
me.
because it
They can.
affects the public.
Well, we can all.
Last month, yeah, I was here.
Because Ben Resch called me, literally called me, said, Nikki, I need you to apply tomorrow. And I did it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So also maybe talk it up amongst other professionals.
I've tried.
Well, yeah, except that because I've asked about that and you said we weren't allowed, that they weren't.
You could ask people to talk to their commissioners.
Oh, yeah, that, but not.
Well, no,
head on.
there's a process. The CRA just added members, so there's a process where it has to go through the city commission.
So they could talk to a commissioner or the mayor and say, I want to be
So
on the
we're
board.
going to tell others, hey,
Yeah.
if you want to try to be on a board, it's interesting, why don't you go for it?
But then they have to have it on the city commission agenda.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
You can have all this. People-
So are we good?
You can make it. Somebody can make
Did
it.
use that wrong.
Oh, Sherry's gonna say, you gonna say something?
Very much.
All right, can we go home?